Afternoon, everybody. I know you probably saw us a little bit beforehand because I'm on my own driving. Well, not entirely on my own. I have the wonderful Imogen Cook with me, and I will be introducing her in a moment. Welcome to Speaker Insight, where we help speakers, authors, and coaches to build a portfolio business on your terms. We really help you manage and run and scale your speaker, author, coach business. And when I say we, I mean Kelly Tyler. But Kelly Tyler is off on holiday, and so you just get myself and the wonderful Imogen. Now, Kelly and I are the founders of the Connection Hub, which is a group of amazing speakers, authors, and coaches, and all the people who supply them, including Imogen here, to really help them make the most of the business, so that they can really grow it in the way that you want, and you can live it and have a lifestyle on your terms. So we share, inside the group. If you're not a member in there, and I'll pop the link in there in a second. If you're not a member in there are so many speaking opportunities that come up in there. Professionals like the web developers that you need, the illustrators, the designers, everyone that you could need, that you want to have in your business, who have your back in the business, you'll find in there, as well as all of those odd questions that you want to ask as a speaker, author, coach. What do I do when Amazon, how do I get my ISBN? How do I do this? And the wealth of sharing that goes on is just impeccable. So if you're not in there, I would really recommend that you actually actively come in there. So I'm going to pop the link in there in a second. But many of you absolutely join us, and I can see some of you are joining us live at the moment as it is. So many of you actually join us live here on a Tuesday. So let us know where you are and where you're listening from, because we always like to know a little bit of that. Imogen, where are you?
I'm in Mexico City, and it's quite early in the morning, which both for the weather and the people is like the middle of the night, so it's quite dark.
Exactly, and it's like that's probably why you're sort of sat where you are, whereas I, of course, am sat here in London, at 1 o'clock here in the UK. So let us know where you are. We'd love to know, even if it's the hashtag replay. Pop a little hashtag replay in there and let us know what where you actually are, because we do like the global community that we are. Now, today we are actively talking about the mistakes that people make when working with a VA. Now, Imogen runs a beautiful company called the Freedom Geek, which and we've known each other for quite some time. And I really want you to get your questions ready. Now, for those of you who've been around for a little while, I am actually just going to pop this in here, because we did a different, we actually did an interview with Imogen, gosh, about 2 years ago now, I reckon. So you'll see the differences in what we look like as well. But I'm going to pop the link in here for that as well, so that you can actively see. If you haven't yet got a VA, then this training that we did, which was about finding, managing, and loving working with a virtual assistant, actually is the latest one that we did. So I'm going to pop that in both the Connection Hub and on the Speaker Insight page, just so that you can see that. Today, we're actually looking at, because we were having a conversation, Imogen is one of our partners, we were having a conversation around people make mistakes when they're working with their VAs, and they don't necessarily make the most of the resource that is a VA, as they can, or as much of an effort with them as much as they can. So we thought we'd actually do another little interview that actually says, what could you do to make even more of the VA support that you actively have, and what could you be doing and not doing to actually make that in? But before we actually get into that, I want to know, what's the buzz in your business? The buzz in our business really is, Kelly's away on holiday at the moment. She's doing all sorts of things in Cornwall. I think she's probably traveled the whole of Cornwall right now. I am going to be seeing the whole of Wales. Well, one little tiny part of Wales, actually. When I go, we're kind of tag teaming our holidays. So really that's the theme for us at the moment. In terms of the buzz in our business, we're focused on actually taking the rest from the business, because we did our strategy meeting a week and a half ago before she went, and we're going to hit the ground running after I come back. So it is really nice. So whether you're on holiday or whether you've got something exciting coming up, I would really love to know. But before you let us know, well, you just keep on typing in now. I just love the jingle. It's so much fun. Imogen, what's the buzz in your business?
Thank you. I love that. So good question. Well, the last time I spoke to you was before the COVID apocalypse, I believe. So
It was.
so everything has been very interesting. But I suppose a few things have happened. When that all started, I wasn't really sure what that meant for a virtual assistant business because, well, nobody really knew anything at the beginning.
For sure.
And I know that the customers we'd been actively talking to, a lot of people just panicked because they were like, what's going to even happen with my business?
Yeah.
So we had a very strange few weeks where most of the people that we were actively talking to paused or disappeared or pulled out. And then I thought, oh no, this is literally the end of the world in every way. And then the UK locked down, and as that happened, I think a lot of entrepreneurial people thought, what do I do next?
Mm.
And luckily for me, several of them thought, this is a time to work on my business and get a virtual assistant. Yeah. What do I do next? And so I think we might have a bit of audio delay.
No, I think no. That was me actually making sure that I could see the comments of everybody. That was me trying to be sneaky in the background, but it not working. So you just continue, keep going.
I'm paranoid about my internet here. So yes, and then all of a sudden there was just a surge of new people who came in, replaced, everyone who'd sort of disappeared. I've never seen anything like it before. I've been working with VA placements in some way, shape, or form since about 2015. So It's been a few years. And then, everything just came back, started growing. As with any crazy situation, there are opportunities. Some people find that what they were doing before isn't viable.
Sure.
We were really well placed, which I'm extremely grateful for. Didn't do it on purpose. Would love to say I was that clever, but no, it just people, working online is huge. We've always done it. We've always been about remote collaboration. And I think people more than ever wanted to knuckle down on their businesses, their side hustles, find those VAs. So they just started coming to us, and we continue to grow, thankfully. So that was a huge bit of a roller coaster journey, but has been good, and we're a bit stabilized. It's funny because when the Philippines locked down, they all started applying to us, so we got this huge surge of applicants as well, because not everybody wanted to work from home. It was like you are all at home for the foreseeable future, so people who weren't already, so that it kind of and we noticed the lockdown patterns in the waves of it, that we got busier when the UK locked down. So I'm really sorry for everybody for the tough down, but for me, especially being here in Mexico, sorry, everyone's going to hate me, but when the UK locked down, I was like, this is good. We're going to get another little surge, and we did. Sorry, because I know people had a really tough time with that, but no, that all happened. I hired more team members. I've currently got 7 full-time virtual assistants, with another on trial, who hopefully that will go through and it'll become 8 very soon. Possibly 9, 10. I'm eyeing up a couple of other positions, but a few things need to fall into place. So a lot of growth, and that comes with training and onboarding those VAs. But for us, one of the big shifts that I have been wanting to do for ages, but finally I'm starting to push towards, is that we could both look after existing business and placements and the organic growth for that, which has always been aggressive for us. And then also do some new things. So some of the new things I'll just mention really quickly. We created a document called 100 security tips for people working with virtual assistants, because some people are really, we're doing we're doing more and more around data protection, security, and giving people support around that. There's a lot of confusion or questions, or people not sure where to start. We also recently recorded a big discussion. This is me and my team, so me and 7 Filipino people, about money, because people, there's a lot of question about ethics, money in the Philippines, how much, is okay, how much do people live on, how do Filipinos perceive it, what kind of opportunities are available over there compared to over here. So, it's quite an in-depth discussion. We ended up recording, I don't know, about 7 hours of material, so we need to edit that down. responsibilities. Yeah, we really went into it. I asked about retirement, investments, entrepreneurial attitudes, like how much is a lot of money, how much is not very much money, what's the cultural perception of foreigners, what do they think is good about foreign companies coming into the Philippines, what do they think is not so good about, so I asked absolutely everything I could think of, and I don't think anyone's done an in-depth discussion about money in the way that we have. I haven't come across it, so that's going to be some great material.
Well, certainly not in terms of, wow, now we're into a whole other thing, and I still want to ask you all the questions that I want to ask you. I'm going to say hi to Julie Kenny, who's in Ipswich, and I'm going to say hi to Shiggy, who I know is in London, South London somewhere. But for me, that's absolutely amazing, because my VA, placed by you, found by you, placed by you, who's been with me for 3 years now, we have that discussion on a regular basis around, where's she at in her money kind of journey around buying a house, buying a car, the retirement thing. We've talked about the health plans and all of that good stuff. But let's cover some of that off as we sort of get into the meat on the bones, because we're really sort of talking about, so I'd really love to know, for those of you who are listening either live or later, do you have a VA? Do you have a team of VAs? Are you thinking about getting a VA? What is your situation around getting some support of a VA type variety? And you may or may not know what that means. So if you've got your questions ready, please feel free to do them. I'm going to field them as we go. But today we're really talking about, that whole, I think a lot of people over the holidays start to think about, what am I doing or not doing in my business? What would I really like? So I suspect that in the next 4 months or so, September being that beautiful reset of, it's back to school. What else can I do? Maybe now is the time for me to get a VA. What we wanted to do was put this in front of you because of the conversation that we had around the mistakes that people really make when working with a VA. So you just said you've got a team and you're expanding the team. So why is it? I think we've got a good sense of what you've been up to. So why is it important for people to work with a VA or a team of VAs? Like, what does it make possible for people? Specifically, the speakers and coaches, obviously.
I think, and I think entrepreneurial people kind of know that VAs can be extremely valuable. They're hearing a lot of conversation about that. And I mean, ultimately, there's a possibility of replacing yourself. Either it's funny, I used that language recently with a group of people who run businesses, and some of them had quite a negative reaction because we are natural control freaks, and people are like, what? What did you just say? But I don't mean fully. I mean, it can become really a choice, like replace yourself partially or fully, and definitely look to get tasks away from you that you are not enjoying and not very good at, that are low value tasks. So maybe they need to be done, but it's not the best use of your energy. They don't drive your business forward, that type of thing. So a combination of virtual assistants and automation, systemization, it depends on the kind of business that you've got, and there's a kind of conversation that goes hand in hand, can really help you with that. But for anyone who's drowning, who is doing a lot of things, and not just admin, VAs are just, I always say, they're smart people who work online, not just administrators. So whatever it is in your business, because it's individual, that's really sucking up your time, you need to look at it. And something I'd love to add around this, because I'm not sure that many people say it, but I do. And it took me, it was one of my first major breakthroughs with doing this. I said, and I still say, I'm going to be the conductor of the orchestra in my business. Like, I'm not allowed to play any instruments. So if I'm still doing my own marketing, because it's like playing the flute and I like that, then I need to look at, is that holding the business back just because I enjoy it? Or is it worth creating an opportunity for someone else who enjoys marketing, even though I do too, to come in and we'll collaborate, but they'll actually do like the work.
What I love about what you just said there is simply that, you know, sort of like, because I always hold, you know, when we were here we go, Sebastian's actually really said this, so I'm going to answer you, but I'm also going to say what Sebastian's saying here. I really wish we replaced the word VA with remote team member. They run our business for us, they make our lives easier. Hell yes to that. And that's exactly it. And so what I was literally just about to say in addition to that is, you know, Kelly and I always talk about, you know, there's you and there's your business. You serve the business and the business serves you. So as you grow it, you know, the business is an entity by itself. One of the reasons why we set up our Changemaker Central membership is actually that you need to run the business. You know, there is you, and you are the ambassador for that business. You are the lighthouse of that business. You go out and shine the light. You go out and do the things you're good at. But actually, the business itself is an entity. And that entity needs looking after. And 9 times out of 10, exactly as you've just said, if you start to become the conductor, then the people make that entity so much better because you're directing and guiding those activities. So it's good. And Shiggy's really loving your analogy as well. So yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, thank you. I love it. I know I had one that kind of got me, that someone said, it's like you're building a house. Another one, this one was quite a powerful one for me. It's like you've decided to build a house. You're a business owner, so you're going to do everything. So when you decide to build a house, do you go, right, I need electrics, so I'm going to go and study it and become an electrician, and then I need plumbing, so I'm going to go and learn how to be a plumber. I need to learn bricklaying, you know, and it goes on and on and on. And of course, you know, for me that's completely ridiculous. It'll make me laugh. I've got a lot more aptitude for business than any of that. But I'm like, we see that it's ridiculous in that scenario, but with business, we're like, oh, I really need to learn this or that. And it's good to find someone who can do it. And, you know, the great thing about Filipino VAs, which is my niche, is that it can be affordable, which means that it can actually provide a small business who's facing a reality where it's not possible to pay a local person a lot of money to do some of these things. So it just allows, you know, incredible possibilities through leverage from that perspective as well.
And so again, Sebastian's come back. I'm loving this term, and you might even end up taking this on. I'm so glad you agree, he says. I get emotional about this. I've literally saved a few by changing this for them and showing them their true worth. The term we use in our brand is global success partner, which I really love.
Sounds good. Very good.
It does. So it obviously makes a lot more possible in the business because you're freeing yourself up in order to do things. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of this, because I know you have a lot of experience around this, partly because you obviously work with a team yourself and you've been doing so for quite some time, but also you're obviously hand-holding all of the people that you place people for. You're beginning to handhold those people through as well. So you see a lot of this at the coalface. So what are some of those issues? And by the way, all of you would love to know where to find Filipino VAs. We're going to pop a link in here, Jonathan, for you, so that Imogen literally will support you in that endeavor for sure. So here's the deal. So I'm just going to big you up for a second. I'm going to not ask that question for a second. I'm just going to big you up, right? So here's the deal. Imogen, you put the link in, Imogen, whilst I big you up. Let's do it that way. So Imogen and her team actively do all the sourcing for you. They will figure out what you, in a conversation with you, first of all, help you understand what do you actually need a VA for. It might be one VA, it might be several VAs, because they have different skill sets and that type of thing. So first of all, they're going to help you do that bit. Then they're going to go and source those people for you, shortlist them, do some interviewing for you already, and then present you with 3 that like are highly likely to be your person, because you still need a chemistry match. And you then kind of do that interviewing process, and then there's a whole month of probation where they actually support you and help you through that bit as well, which is just fantastic. So it really does take the headache away from you. So honestly, Jonathan, go check it out. She's already popped the link in there. That's absolutely amazing, and we're good to go. So I'm going to come back to, what are some of the issues that you hear people complain about or have trouble with when they're working with VAs?
Yes, thank you for that. I think it's
of course, what are the solutions?
Yeah, no, it's all going to be pretty self-explanatory, actually, from what I'm saying. So basically, there's two stages, and I wanted to address the second stage of it a little bit because that's something I haven't talked about a lot. But I
Yeah.
also want to mention the first stage because a lot of people listening are going to be in the first stage. So the first stage of mistakes, fears, problems, overwhelm, whatever you want to call it, is people say, okay, I might need a VA. I don't really understand what a VA is. I don't really understand why they're important. That's one thing. I don't know where to get one, which was someone just posted going, where do I get one? So that's typical. That's one
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
two.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
For
one of
sure.
the top things we get. And then I don't know what to delegate to them. I don't know where to start with that. It's a very overwhelming thing. So those are the three problems. There are a few smaller things, but those are the three big problems that people tend to come to us with. So
Yeah.
just to address those very quickly, what is a VA? It's a smart person who works online. So when people are like, what can a VA do? I'm like, it's like you're asking me, what can a smart person do? You're a smart person, you're running a business. You're very good at things. A lot of entrepreneurs are very resourceful. A lot of VAs are very resourceful, but
Sure.
just have that in mind rather than, I think they can do some data entry. And on that point, I haven't mentioned it before, but we created, my team can't take all the credit. I
I
can't
was
function
just going to
without
say,
them.
you directed, you orchestrated, and they did.
I'm an ideas factory, so I just cause chaos and they try and control it.
Oh,
So yeah, we've created something called a document called 500 tasks you can delegate to a virtual assistant. That's available through the website. I just posted the freedomgeek.com. You can go there and download it. It's an interactive checklist, so you can literally go through and tick, because my VAs are smart, I didn't come up with this. You can literally go through and check the things that you're doing, and it's subdivided into whether this is a generalist, a semi-specialist, or a specialist who would be doing those tasks. So it's a kind of upgraded version of the one that we used to have, which is 100 tasks. But I
yeah,
thought, I've got so many more ideas, and some people were copying me because they
yeah.
always do. So I was like, right, I'm going to upgrade to 500 and put do not copy me disclaimers all over it, but they will anyway. But anyway, so you can, yeah, anyone who's watching who would like that can go there. So, I always say, and this is the thing when people are like, I don't know what to delegate. And I'm like, you don't have any ideas. I've got 500. I've never had a problem with this. So I'm going to give those to you. Might be a little bit overwhelming, but at least you'll start to clarify where you are with that. And just on that point, first thing you need to do, if you're not sure, is track what you're doing all day. You need to be hyper aware of what you're really doing, not what you think you're doing, not your to-do list, but what you're actually doing. You need to start tracking it. So those things will start to shape, what and how a VA might start to fit into your business. You need to identify those things. So hang on, what did I say? I said they don't know where to find one, and then I think I covered off the other two. I don't know where to find one. There are a lot of different places you can find VAs, including me. Where we niche is quality control. So we really, and this is a big fear for people looking at the Philippines. They're like, are they going to be terrible? Like, it's not a first world country. People are fearful. How is their English going to be, etc., etc.
For sure.
The short answer to that is their English is incredible. Someone in a second language, it's not going to be flawless, but it will be very good. And you can hire someone from the UK without flawless English, by the way.
That's so true.
No, my VAs speak and write incredible English. I am more than happy to let them do a huge amount of customer facing stuff on my behalf, both
Yeah,
spoken and written. And they do it to high quality. And
for
then
sure.
and then there's still this, oh well, are they rubbish? My VA is not my VA, my business is my whole world for a lot of
Yeah,
people, and they're like, I don't want someone coming in who's going to be terrible. It will ruin everything. So
for sure.
we don't want that either. That's why we do so much hand holding, and you mentioned that, and it's why we do so much. We do aptitude tests, we do interviews, we do background checks, we do this, we test their internet connections, we test their computer specs, we put them through quite a vigorous
Beautiful.
selection of tests. Yeah, and we only take about the top 10% into our database, and
Nice.
of that top 10%, those are the three that are then presented to customers, and
Yeah,
we talk them through some tips of working together. So that's the first stage. That's for people who, and I know people listening, because there will always be people listening and just curious about that. And then I wanted to come on to this second thing, which I really haven't spoken about very much, which is the thing of, you know, you've got your VA, and they're coming in, and you know, what are the problems at that particular point in time. And this is something that I did really want to talk about, because it's really important, or it's really quite interesting, I think.
To be honest with you, you know, sort of, I think it's one of those, if you've never managed anybody, and many people have come out of the corporate world, for example, started being a speaker, author, coach, but actually wearing all those different hats. Some people may well have managed staff in the past, some people may not. But even if you've managed staff in an office environment, in an in-person environment, there are some differences that actually go on. And then you've got the cultural things on top of it. So do enlighten us, because I've certainly got my opinions, and you know I do, and you know I'm going to chip in around my experiences too, because of course one of the things I do as a kind of personal efficiency coach is help people manage people in this way as well. So I'm sure between the two of us we're going to come up with a few. So go for it. What have you noticed?
Yeah, well, I just like to say on you, I, you know, you've done this really well, and I think the essence of the reason that you've done it really well has really been down to communication and relationship.
For sure.
So, and this is what people need to understand, and it brings me beautifully onto a couple of things that I want to say. In terms of the biggest mistakes people make. So let's say a scenario, I've done this, by the way, like I've made almost every single mistake you can make with a VA over the last, you know, 7 years, and working with various people, some who worked out unbelievably well and some who didn't. But I think up front, as long as you know, you can have got a really great VA, which is what you all like, what everybody wants. And then the biggest thing you could probably do, which will mess it up, is not invest in them, not invest your energy, not communicate with them, not invest the time. So
I just actually, so hold that thought. I just want to repeat what Sebastian's just actually said, because he's backing you up here. I don't use tracking or work evidence tools to micromanage them. I train them. I've invested in several long-term, including providing them with desktops, power backups, high-speed connections, furniture. It pays off. It quadrupled my team and business.
Wow, that's incredible. That's very interesting. I've got a slightly different approach with some of it, I think. Not the heart of it, which is investing, but with some of the things we actually do. We do use a lot of tracking tools. I'm obsessed with productivity, not to micromanage them, not to be like a big brother. I do not want to sit here and stare remotely at the people who work for me all day. It would be creepy, weird, and terrible use of my time. But we do very much track the productivity side of things, partly because I give them very flexible hours and flexible working, and and myself, and we need to like be really on top of that. But the investment side, investing in so much, is fantastic. And people do work very successfully with VAs in different ways. What Sebastian said is valid. It's obviously working incredibly well. Me, and then, you know, there's another person who's a competitor of mine, but we're quite good friends, and I know he does things a little bit differently to me, and we've got it nailed. But these essence of like what's important, like investing in the VA, everybody here, including you, will be saying the same thing. And I just want to really emphasize, you've got one shot at letting this VA know that you value the relationship with them, and it starts day one. When that person's coming in to work for you and they're excited, you know, a new boss is an international person. English people are very exotic and kind of, I don't know how to say this. Filipino people are very curious about us. Not my team; they're used to me. But you know, they're used to working with Americans more. So when we come along, it doesn't take them very long to notice, oh, you're not an American with a different accent. You are actually a bit different. So you know, it's everything about it is really interesting for them. If you get it right, if you get that communication right, and the relationship right, they can transform your business and do it with so much energy and enthusiasm and day-to-day support when you're tired and all the rest of it. if you flip side, and I've seen people do it, I've seen our customers do it, sometimes not everybody, of course, and it's agony for me. I did it before I really knew what I was doing in the early days.
Yeah.
If you ignore them, that was what I did. Disrespect them, I would never. Pay them late, like,
Yeah.
and I don't mean a couple of days, I mean months.
Ouch.
Yeah, I know. Like I say, I have pain sometimes over some things, but that person's going to start thinking, this isn't professional. You don't value me. I have no relationship with you. What's the point in being here?
Yeah.
What other opportunities are available to me? And if they're a great switched on VA and you've messed up, then you have lost all the wonderful things that could have come with that. So I'm going to let you say something because I bet you want to, and then I've got a few
No,
other
well,
ones on this.
so for me, it's actually really one of the biggest mistakes around kind of investment is the not recognizing just the learning style and the habits and patterns. Again, what Sebastian was saying about getting to know each of the members of the team. One of the biggest mistakes for me is this definitely the paying. So there is actually a reminder in my calendar to on the first of the month to literally pay the VA, sort of like so that's in there. It messed up the other day because my CPU died, and that wasn't a fun one. So sort of like but having those little systems in place that actually allow me to take care of my person actually is gold to me. So I would much rather have that productivity piece, and that was actually what I was going to say before was I love that you track the productivity, not the hours, because there's a real difference around that. It's around the goal setting. It's around the, this is the objective. Estimate for me how long that's going to take for you, and then we'll actually kind of work with that. And that actually for us, certainly in the relationship that I have with our VA, means that she gets really good at establishing, how long's this going to take me, how long's that going to take me, so that we can rinse and repeat in all sorts of ways. That allows us to systemize in the business in all sorts of ways, but it also allows us to be thinking about, which I currently am, who's the next person that's going to come in, and what's the next little element of the team that actually is a good complement to this person. But it's only by getting to know them and actually investing hours up front, getting to know the person, because this is a person who's absolutely working in your business and cares as much about it, if you let them, as you do, if not more.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I track everything, by the way. I do track hours too, and it's funny, and you've got to be very on this. I mean, one reason I do this is, again, I've had customers say, "Well, I think the VA was taking a bit too long to do this," and I was like, "All right, okay. How long does it take you?" If
Nice.
they don't know, then I'm like, if they've taken a task off you, that's why we all need to start tracking ourselves. And someone might be slower than me, fine, they might be faster, but I know what's reasonable. And I think that's a big thing to be aware of as well. It's really about, your working day or my working day. And so I need to look at what that looks like right now, and I need to understand how productive I am, what I'm working on, how many hours it takes me, and then I've got quite a good insight into what it should more or less look like if someone comes in and replaces some or all of that as we move forward. So
Nice.
that's good. Yeah. And then I wanted to say something else about relationship. Oh, that's right. When we did this huge recording talking about money and all these different things, I asked my team about the most rewarding or important things to them, in terms of, working from home career.
Yeah.
And I was expecting more people to say flexible working, and I think it is important to them, but some of them have been doing it for a while. They're kind of used to it. Maybe, I don't know about taking it for granted, but it's very much part of the norm for them.
Yeah.
But pretty much everybody said relationship with you and relationship with each other, the team. They just said it's so valuable. And I think for that, and I'm in the world of a team of VAs, a team of remote workers now, not really the first stage one-to-one, but if and when you do get to that point, the energy of having a small team working from home, backing each other up, you know, when someone's computer goes down, someone else is there to step in, you know, it's just wonderful. And that side of it, the relationships, it was the really strong message that they gave me, and it didn't surprise me, it just reinforced what I keep telling people.
And isn't that amazing, from actually having one VA versus having a team of VAs? Because of course a VA allows you to scale your business, allows you to bring more money in. And so interestingly, that team element, and Sebastian's just saying something similar around that investment kind of piece, actually having a team of people allows you to recreate that feeling of belonging despite borders in this way. And that's actually really important, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to somebody here in Mexico, and they said, I was talking about my life because I'm location independent and run a business, and I kind of was explaining that a little bit. And he asked me, he said, "Oh, how do you deal with the loneliness?" And I was like, "I'm not lonely." I'm like,
Loneliness.
what are you talking about? I'm like, when I'm online, it's things like this and talking to the team all the time. I'm like, I'm the blah, 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 blah all day. And then like one of my hobbies here is dance. So that's very, I don't know, physical, social. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I have to carve out time to be on my own with the noise switch stuff, like I did in London. I'm like, I think you have a misperception of what my life is like. And it's the same with the VAs. I mean, you know, they're working from home. A lot of my team, they've got dogs, they've got kids, they've got their families, they've got Alvi on my team, she's got chickens. It's hilarious when she does lives, anything could walk past in the background. And she said, she's like, there are a lot of animals here. Like I may be approached by one of them at any time. And you're like, okay.
Oh,
And you know, it's
amazing. So interestingly, just talking about that, because you know, because actually it is, when Kelly and I say building a business on your terms, we mean exactly that. It's like, you know, building a business that runs via your values, that means that you can create the team around you that have similar values, that actively allow you to not be lonely, or indeed to be fully independent and isolated should you wish to be. You know, that's the whole point behind this, making the difference that you want to make in the world. And so Sebastian's just actually said, funny you said borders. Our slogan is influence, sell, business services without borders, and that's just brilliant. I do just want to honor what else he's just saying here. Having hired members who were scared, abused, underpaid by previous employers, and shown them respect, love, trust, resources, made them family. And I totally agree. I you know, Mel and I talk about, like, you know, being sisters quite happily all of the time, even though she is, you know, sort of in effect someone who is working alongside me. I now have 3 times brought all of my global success partners to an international holiday in 8 years. We are proud of our cultures. When you give them the right support and guidance, act as if they were a client too, which I absolutely agree with, you see change, growth, and they want to see your brand as theirs. Production for me is timely, quality delivery. I have equal rules for my clients, and you know, totally get it. And I think we're all on the same page here. And what it comes down to, sorry, I'm now chasing the sun. The sun is chasing me, rather, in terms of this. But I think what it comes down to is actually shifting the perception. The whole of the conversation that we're having here is not treating somebody as an employee, interestingly enough, but actually treating them as an entrepreneur within your own organization, because they are smart people who do a really great job when given the autonomy and orchestration direction that we're given. So I think one of the core mistakes is actually not giving them the position and the autonomy to do all that they can do for and with the business, as well as alongside you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, that word family. So the team, I wouldn't do this, and I'll tell you why, but the team have self-referenced as family quite a few times and said we're family. And even when we've interviewed new people, they're like, this is a family. I'm like, okay, I would never do that. You're, I think, a little softer than me in some ways, but like, because I've worked in big corporate environments, if they come up and be like, you're now part of this family, I'd
oh
be
my
like,
God, no.
because, you know, it's like, wear your uniform, which is our business dress, and
Yeah.
abide by our rules, which is, I'm like, this isn't a family. This is like very cheesy, slimy corporate stuff, which I don't. So I've got a bit of a funny thing with that. But
Yeah.
they're right. We do have
It's the
that.
feel. It's the
Yeah.
feel that sits behind it. And I think whatever label people kind of create,
Yeah.
that's really what it goes on to. And that comes down to you as the orchestrator still create the culture. And I think that is one of the mistakes that solopreneurs can actually make, that they don't think that they have a company culture. But of course you have a company culture. And indeed, if you're looking to grow bigger, that starts right with the person that you're working with, sort of
Yeah.
as a first off, right?
Oh, it does. Actually, that's a really nice thought that I've created a company culture, because I suppose I have, and I'm proud of it, and it does align to everything that I like and everything that I didn't want in the corporate world, and it seems to be making people really happy and in collaboration of working together. There's two other things that I really
Go
want to
for it,
say about mistakes that people make after hiring VAs, and
please.
I actually want to touch on one which might sound weird after what we just said. And we talked about investment, but actually you need to be very careful about over investing
Yeah,
in your VA, which is something that I've seen clients do. And let me clarify exactly what I mean by this. This
great.
is things like giving out a pay rise or a bonus for no clear reason. This is
Mm,
somebody saying, I paid you double this month because I felt like it, which I've seen somebody do.
eek.
There we go. And then there was, or something like, you've been working together for 10 days, a very short amount of time, and buying them, I mean, Sebastian might have, but I want to say my view on this,
Yeah,
buying them a very expensive piece of equipment.
yeah.
Like we had this quite recently, very new relationship. The VA is like, my laptop is dead. Can you buy me a MacBook? It's expensive. Yeah, there we go. So there's been a few of this sort of situation where I would say, there hasn't been, there hasn't been a good established record of great performance between you
Yeah,
and the VA. You
yeah.
haven't really built your relationship. You haven't really established the trust. You haven't really got to know each other. You haven't got to a place where the VA is taking things off you and you're feeling good about it.
Mm,
Or even there are red flags, because
yeah.
sometimes when VAs do this, there are red flags that come along with it. Or we've also had we've also had this scenario. VA asks their client or their boss to lend them money.
Mm,
We've had a few. So I just want to on this say, for me, it's very clear in our organization that our VAs are supposed to have their own equipment. It's a work from home arrangement.
yeah,
And although we do the matchmaking and give a lot of support, effectively this person is kind of a freelancer. That
yeah,
doesn't mean that you can't have a long-term relationship. That doesn't mean any of that.
yeah.
It can be very important from a legal standpoint, because as soon as you make someone an employee, all this fun employee law kicks in, and
Yes,
it's a bit different.
indeed.
Other tax implications, lots of things like that. So if you want to keep it as simple as possible,
Yeah,
the best arrangement is usually, and I'm not a tax or a legal person, but my understanding, and I do talk to them, and we're partnering with people like that who are going to have this conversation in a lot of detail
yeah.
through me. It just makes it very complicated. So be careful with those type of things. And I really believe, and this is kind of a rule for life, don't overinvest in anybody who hasn't shown you that they are going to be, great for you in one way or another. So
And
I've seen quite a lot of people do this, and I wanted to bring it up. And I
yeah,
just, we're creating materials. I'm going to go into a bit more detail, but if you're not sure about that VA, then just don't. Just
yeah,
stop and think and put yourself. What I found is useful is put myself in that situation. If I was in a slightly different scenario and
yeah,
I was a freelancer working for somebody, would I go to them and say, can you lend me money? Can you buy
yeah,
me new equipment? Can
yeah,
you, whatever else it is? And my personal ethics will be absolutely not. I want
yeah,
them to have the best experience of me. So if I needed that, I will ask a friend, a family member, I'll take a personal loan. And we
yeah.
discuss this as part of our money discussion with the team. They all had exactly the same attitude that we would in the UK. No, this is
Right,
not something to bring to your boss. It is inappropriate. It's out of line for people who do it. So I wanted
right.
to bring it up because that overinvestment piece, and I think people get so so carried away with investment that they let people get away with murder. No. And don't do that either. There's got to be, there is a balance. You invest in people, but you invest in the right people for the right reasons. So I wanted to bring it up because it keeps coming up and it's huge.
And at the right time, because I think there is, over time, somebody proves the value that they actually bring for you, and you can arrange whatever is required or needed in that way, for sure. And exactly as Sebastian's just said, balance is absolutely the key, and the reason that we have, and you would do this for anyone that you're employing, the reason that we have probation periods, usually 3 months, is that you test somebody out, you begin to develop a relationship with them, and then you start to actually have those discussions, which is great.
Yeah, and KPIs and targets and structured feedback, and that can go aligned to pay rises and with bonuses, but it's got to be meaningful and it's got to be structured. It can't just be this chaotic, can you do this huge thing, or I'm just going to throw this thing at you. We've actually seen it a lot more than you'd expect. I know it sounds like common sense to some people, but I wanted to bring that up, and there are particular scenarios. At the end of the day, you've got to be really clear on the one goal for this, which is to make your life easier. And if your VA is not making your life easier, and I know there could be a lot of different circumstances for that, you've really got to look at that relationship, and because it's hard enough in business, everybody knows that it's hard enough. So let's make this easier, not harder. And I just remind people of that end goal sometimes. And then one more, I've got to say this in line with that as well.
And then I'm going to move you on, because
another massive mistake after you've hired. No, it just goes aligned to what I just said. Not firing the VA if they're not the right one, not firing them quick enough. So, again, we can teach people how to do that. We can do it for you. we can. And I had a personal lesson on this because it took me far too long to learn this, and it's a huge drain. So the same that, do the quality control, do everything you can. People are people. It's hard to get it perfectly right. And when you realize it's not perfectly right, you've got to immediately find another one. Got to.
It's the Tony Hayes thing, sort of the Zappo shoes, their philosophy, which I just love in a tiny short sentence, is hire slow, fire fast. It's just brilliant, because you don't want that impact to really be there. You want to be able to just go again, and it's not a mistake as such. I will just say, partly because I know this ties in with what you ask your team on a regular basis. Sebastian's just said, my single question is always, is everyone growing?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean,
right?
Our business is pretty relentless right now, to be honest. I don't think people have got much of a choice.
Well, I agree, right? Sort of like, but it's about putting the circumstances in that allow for that to happen, which I just really love. Sort of, it's like, because that growth question, and I would definitely say that is a valid one, certainly between the conversations that I have with the people that I use as outsourcers, but particularly my VA. That whole growth question, and when I say that back to the business is an entity, is the business growing? Are you growing? And am I growing? That actually works really well. So what I want to do is, just because I know we haven't got a lot of time, because you and I could talk about this for a very long time, because getting the right support in your business that allows your business vision to actually come into actuality, that's the key here. So what is the best way of kind of making the most of your VA or team? Because I know you've just added something that really helps people make the most of that. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So what I've decided to do, and I think it's one of the natural next steps for us, is help people with the coaching side of things.
Nice.
So this is because I know people come to us overwhelmed, and some people don't need too much help, but everybody needs a bit of help. And I've been living and breathing this for quite a while now, and loving doing it as well, and experimented with many different things. So next week on the 17th, a Tuesday as well. Nice. It's Tuesday today. Yes, we are launching our first coaching session. What I'm doing is actually offering it free at the moment for a
Which
couple of
is
sessions
amazing.
for people who are interested. You don't need to already have a VA. This is for people who are thinking about getting a VA, who are in the process of onboarding a VA, or who have had a VA perhaps for a long time and want to revisit their goals, their values, and whether it's going well and what else they can be doing. So that's basically who it's for.
Yeah.
We're launching, I had 12 slots. I was going to do a big blast out to everybody, but as I told you just before we went live, so
Sure.
I don't do my own sales anymore. I replaced myself in sales with Yasmin from my team. She's wonderful, and she's
Yeah.
booked 90% of it out. So for August,
Amazing.
we only have 2 places left.
Which
Yeah,
is
which is
great, right?
say again.
It's just great. I mean, that just,
Yeah.
if that isn't proof of exactly what you're talking about, that, that's wonderful.
I know it seems ridiculous, but it didn't really occur to me to use my salesperson to sell this. She just kind of took it on herself because she's excited about the business and she's excited that I'm going to do this. And she knows when she's talking to customers that this is a sticking point for them. So
Yeah.
she just did it. She just started booking people in. And so if anyone would like to do that, we're going to collaborate and put the link. What I've done is there's a little sort of, I call it an application funnel. It's like 5 questions. It's nothing scary. The
Yeah.
purpose of it is really to understand, what kind of people business have, if they've already got a VA and what goals they want to get from the coaching. And the
Yeah.
feedback that's coming back, what everyone says they want to get is, thankfully for me, aligned to what I thought they wanted.
Yeah.
So, because I will be flexible around what people want and need, but I know my customers pretty well at this point. So I think the things about that, apart from clarification and getting your questions answered and having a bit of a framework for doing things, which is
For
important,
sure.
and I mean delegation framework, and management and relationship, of course.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I think is probably going to be very powerful for people is accountability. And I mean,
Yeah.
let's start where you are, because some people are like, everything is a mess. I'm working in chaos. I'm not organized enough to onboard a VA. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I get that. I was the same. And guess what? It's never going to change, because that's the situation. If you don't do anything differently, this is your life that you're living. It's going to be the same in 5 years' time. So you need to just start where you are, take it baby steps, like with any big transformation, and have an accountability group.
Yeah.
And this is entrepreneurs working, or entrepreneurial people. It'll be some coaches, or probably some real property investing people. I work a lot with them, a bit of a
Yeah.
mix, but everybody will be there with the same intentions, and we can brainstorm, I know I'm going to get some interesting ideas back from people, things I haven't thought of, which I'm excited about, because I love learning about new perspectives. And you have to, when you've been doing this a while like me, it takes something like this that's going to start teaching me back as well, which is going to be really exciting. So yes, that's one of the biggest things that we're now doing. If people want to get involved with that, I think we're going to make the link available to them so they can apply through. Like I said, there's only 2 more places for August, so this might be a September session for people now. But yeah,
For sure. And I think it's just really important. I think the more the wider lesson for anyone listening, whether it's you choosing a VA in this way or how you're helping people in the business, actually just listening. What I love about this is that this is a product that's grown out of a need that has been emerging over time as you do that active listening. And for those of you who need to do more active listening in your business, if you have a look in the guides inside the Connection Hub, you'll see the live that we did. I might even just dig it out after we've finished here, but it really is about ensuring that you do the thinking up front, but also having that mentor element of allowing someone who has worked with a team or who is working with a team, and being able to kind of talk that through, and just being able to be guided in that way is a really great thing. So I think on that note, I'm going to stop us talking. Sebastian was like, I'll zip it now, because I can obviously keep talking about this as well, which is great. And we love a lot of that, that it makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad. So someone's just actually said there are a lot of really useful tips here. So we are so pleased to have the conversation, and do just get in touch with Imogen, either via the Freedom Geek, or you'll find her inside the Connection Hub for sure. You can tag her, and any of the questions, if you're doing the hashtag replay, just put the questions in here, and we'll both kind of jump on and answer them as and when you do. But I just want to thank you for your time one more time, and just sort of say, you know, it is a great thing. And on a wider context, if you want to jump on a, you know, if you are still a little bit stuck around this, not necessarily around the VA piece, but just around the running of your speaker, author, coach business, jump on a Get Unstuck call with me, and let me do a 15-minute fix for you, because I love doing those. And you know, it's the same kind of thing. It's this, what can we mentor you on that allows you to absolutely just do what you need to do in your business, because that's important. So on that note, I am going to see us out and wish you a very good, productive, effective, and efficient week for the rest of it. And then next week, you'll get Kelly on her own with somebody else, potentially. Who knows what might happen? But I shall bid you all a very good week. And Imogen, thank you again.
Thank you. It's been great. Thank you.
Good.